Hi everybody, this is Shelly and I'm going to do a top 13 books of 2013 for you, so stay tuned. Okay, so I picked my 13 favorite books of 2013 and I'm going to tell you right off the bat that these are not in any kind of order and they're also not books that were published in 2013. These are books that I read in 2013. I don't even want to go through the trying to find the books that were published in 2013. Some of these were, some of them weren't. I would say they're probably about half and half. So anyways, I'm just going to get started, and this is the first one that I have picked for my top 13 is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, and I just finished this book like hours ago. So if there's any kind of order that you notice in this, it's probably the most recent read to the, going back throughout the year. So I just finished The Book Thief. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I love the way it's written. I love that it's written from Death's point of view. It took me a little bit to get used to that at the beginning, but once I did, and it kind of starts to flow really well, and I just liked it, and I was sobbing, like literally, just my kids kept coming in, I'm like, get out of here, and I was like, tears running down my face, sobbing at the end. I just loved it. I know that some people think it was really dark, but when you think about the time period that it's written about, I don't really think that it could be written any other way. I mean, it's going to be dark. It's about the Holocaust. It's about just anything in that time period. I think is just going to be a relatively dark read. So it's just something that you can't really get away from if you're going to write about that. So anyways, I loved that book. The next book on my list is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and this is a huge book. And this one, once I really got into it, I read really fairly quickly. So probably, I don't know, 500 and some odd pages I read in a day and a half. So this is I believe what they would call an epic fantasy. It's an adult fantasy, but it's not, I think it's just classified that way because of the way it's written. It doesn't have, like any kind of content that wouldn't be appropriate for, younger teenagers or whatever. So, I immediately, when I finished this book, went out and bought the second book, and I didn't even order it on Amazon. I literally went to Books A Million and bought it, which I don't do very often. I probably won't read it until after the first of the year, so I don't really know why I needed to go buy it. I just felt like I needed to have the second book right away. So that you may see show up on my January TBR. We'll see. So Patrick Rothfuss, Name of the Wind. If you like fantasy and you have not read this book, I highly recommend it. The next book on my list is Champion by Marie Lu. And if you've watched my booktubeathon, Christmas booktubeathon wrap up, then you kind of know how I feel about this one. I absolutely adored this book. I loved the series, but this book is, the ending of the series was probably one of the best endings for a dystopian ending. That, I mean, everybody knows how Legion ended. Everybody knows how the Hunger Games trilogy ended. This was just a really, really perfect ending for the way that this series was going. So this definitely, if you have not read this series, and if you're like me and you just found out about this series, marathon these 3 books. You will not be sorry. The next book on my list is also part of a dystopian series, and that is Unravel Me by Taheda Mafi. I loved this book. I read this book in one sitting, like 4 or 5 days ago. I sat and literally read the whole book in like 3.5 hours. It looks really big, and it's a good sized book, but once you start reading it, it goes really super fast. I will say, if you've read this series, I've read the first 2 books and the little novella that goes in between. I've seen a lot of Team Warner people. I don't know if I like Warner, but I still really like Adam, so I'm going to have to save my team this or that until I at least read the next book, because, and I don't even know if it's the last book, but I don't know, I just can't decide which one I'm for. I just don't know. I want to like Warner, but I still have this little hope that things will work out for her and Adam. So the next book on my list is an ebook, and I will pop a picture up here. I'm not even going to try to find them on my Kindle because it just takes way too long. And it's Jane's Melody by Ryan Winfield. It's a new adult romance. And probably, if I had to categorize these into top, like actually put them in number order, this would probably be in my top 5. It was just different. Not different from everything I've ever read, but I've read all of Ryan's books and it was definitely different. It was the book that he's got the most recognition for because of the genre, because new adult is like really, really big right now. And it also, he ended up getting a book deal from Adria through that. So that's really awesome, man. As soon as Adria releases the paperback, I'm going to go ahead and get a copy of the paperback because I want to have it for my shelf. The next one on my list is, I wish I put these closer, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Everybody says her last name different. I want to say Rainbow Rowell. I loved this book. It was different from most of the other things that I've read. I loved the character. She's really witty, really funny. The way she writes is really, really, just really cool. And this is the first book of hers that I've read, but I have ordered Eleanor and Park in attachments, so they're on their way to me now. But this book is really, really good. The next book on my list is the first book that I read in 2013, and I did one of these little, top, I think it was 10 or 11 last year, and I did a blog post, and I'll link that blog post below, as well as links to all the reviews for the books that I'm talking about. I've done reviews for most of them, so I'll put the links down in the down bar. But this was, one of my readers commented, "I can't believe this book is not on your list of top books for 2012, and I was like, oh, that's because I haven't read it yet. So I went and picked it up immediately, read it. Definitely one of my favorite. And I'll put a picture up here for you. And that was On the Island by Tracy Garvis Graves. I loved that book. And I know that the content was a little bit iffy for some people because of the age difference and the fact that she's not really his teacher, but she's a teacher. But I loved it. I thought it was really well done. I thought she handled the content really well, and I just loved the book. The next one on my list is, let me see, The Edge of Never by J.A. Redmersky. And this was the first book of hers that I read, and I will tell you the reason that I picked this up originally, and I actually read it on Kindle, and then I liked it so much that I bought the book. The print book too, and I love the cover. I think she's gorgeous on the cover. She reminds me of Quinn from Glee, and I just love the cover. I didn't. If you read my review, you'll know that I didn't necessarily care for her character for most of the book, but I loved Andrew. And if you haven't read this book, it's new adult romance, and it's like one of those that you just wish that. Like, it was one of those that made me want to hop on a bus, and I don't know, you just have to read it. It's just really, really good. So, The Edge of Never by J.A. Redmersky. The next one on my list is also an ebook, and it's Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. And I don't know how I came across this. I was just, I don't know, probably just a recommendation, or I saw it on Goodreads or whatever, because it was way before I got on BookTube. But it's the first in what's a trilogy so far. I don't know how many she's going to have. I have read the first 2, but I still think Pushing the Limits is definitely my favorite. It was just really, really good. And then the next one is also an ebook, and it's Vain by Fisher Amelie, and I'll pop a picture up here for that also. And I believe I did a review for this one as well. I don't know how I came across this one either, but I just read Greed, the second book in the series, and it's the 7 Deadly Sins series. So if you're looking for something different, Vain is just so, so good. It's one of those books that you really, really hate the main character in the beginning. And for the first 3 or 4 chapters, I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is just a horrible, horrible person. But the way she turns everything around in the end, it was just beautiful, beautiful transformation. So anyways, that's on my list, and that's Vain by Fisher Amelie. The next book I have on here, and I just have a few more left, is Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. I read both of these just this month, actually. And this one was this book is so, so good. If you're looking for a really good dystopian series, this is really good. I don't know when this one just came out, so I have it in hardback. So it's probably going to be another year before the third one comes out. But if you're looking for a good dystopian series, this is just really, really good. The next book on my list is also an ebook. Actually, the last two are. And that is Gabriels Redemption by Sylvain Renard. I talked about this a little bit. I don't know when. I don't know. I got it. I reviewed it this month for the blog tour. And it's just really, really good. If you're looking for a good, I believe it's classified as new adult. I don't really know why. I think it should probably be an adult romance series. But it's a really, really good trilogy. The characters are just really well thought out. Just everything about the series I loved. The last book on my list, my top 13, the 13th book I have on here is another. I actually have two by this author on my list, and that is J.A. Redmersky. And this book, I got it as an ARC, and actually she sent it to me and my blog partner, and we both reviewed it at the same time, and we both loved it. And it's called Killing Sarai. And I'll pop a picture up here so you can see. It's spelled Sarai, and I don't know for sure if that's, I've seen so many different pronunciations of this name. But I don't know. It's hard when you read a book where the main character has a name that you don't know how to say, because you have it kind of stuck in your head a certain way, but I just pronounce it Sarai. I don't know if that's right. So anyways, this is a book about, I don't really know how to describe it. It's complete. She wrote The Edge of Never, and so I didn't really know what to expect with this one, but it's completely different than that one. And I don't even think I would classify it as a romance. I'll put a link to my review. It's more of a suspense, kind of a mystery. It has a little bit of romance in it. It's classified as new adult, I believe. But it's just really, really good. If you're looking for something different, the first two, the second book in the series is called Reviving Isabel, and I just read that one also. I believe I have a review for that one on my blog also. But if you're looking for something different, I believe the series is called In the Company of Killers, and it's about a group called the Order that they're contract killers. So they kind of find these people when they're really, really young, like kids, and they kind of train them to be killers. So they're like, they work within the confines sometimes of the government. I don't know, and they're hitmen, so it's really cool. I really enjoyed it. So if you're looking for something different, you might check that out. So anyways, that's my top 13 of 2013. And I would love to hear what you think. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. And thanks for watching. Bye.